Hi, everybody. Welcome to English Digest. I'm Stephanie.
I'm Tom, and today we're going to talk about a flyer that the members of the club have come up with. Remember last time they were talking about writing up a flyer in order to promote their English Conversation Club, and they're going to promote it at the club fair.
They are. We had 3 characters, a guy and 2 ladies, and Mike, Susanna, and Jennifer were sitting around trying to figure out how to boost the membership of their English Conversation Club. They're high school students, and they had some great ideas. They had different types of suggestions. We called them concepts that they wanted to flesh out. To flesh something out, flesh, F-L-E-S-H, just means to add more details into something that just is kind of like an outline at first. They wanted to see what they could get done quickly, and then put these ideas into action because they really were short on time and they needed to get some promotion out pretty quickly if they were going to reach as many students as they wanted to.
Right, so here's the contents of their flyer for today, and people are going to be able to pick this up from their table at the club fair, read it, and decide whether they too would like to join the conversation club. So let's look at the contents now. Let's read through it aloud. We'll read through it from top to bottom, and then we'll come back to discuss it. Are you looking to overcome your fear of speaking English in public? If so, join our English Conversation Club. We're a group of intermediate learners committed to improving our English communication skills. Our chief aim is to learn colorful and relevant phrases so we can eventually converse just like native speakers. A key principle for this club is that every session we have should be fascinating, informative, and fun. Our teacher and supervisor, Mrs. Wong, was born in the U.S., and she is committed to helping everyone improve. She is currently in the process of creating a detailed syllabus for the next semester. Here's a list of some benefits and experiences you will gain from our club. Virtual workshops with native speakers designed to improve your conversation abilities in various scenarios. A copy of a learning portfolio that you can use when applying for university. Progressive lessons that teach you specialized English terms and expressions through film dialogue and song lyrics. Our club will meet on the first and third Tuesdays of each month in the school auditorium. Meetings will start at 3 p.m. and conclude at 4:45 p.m. If you require additional assistance or want to provide us with feedback, please follow our Instagram account and send us a direct message. To join the club, please send an email to Mrs. Wong at mswang@hotmail.com.
Okay, guys, this is the actual flyer that we were talking about, what they're going to put on the flyer to promote their English Conversation Club and get people excited to join. And so they're telling them they're going to learn English conversation skills in a fun atmosphere. So you probably won't have a test all the time and, be very nervous about the teacher picking on you. You always learn better if you're less stressed out. So the more relaxed you can be, the more that you retain or remember in your brain. So I wish teachers would remember that.
Indeed, and of course, my understanding is that English is taught kind of teacher-centered here in Taiwan. The teacher does most or all of the talking in an English class. So in the English club, of course, you'll have a chance to actually open your mouths and start talking and not be afraid of making mistakes.
Yeah.
So here it asks a question at the beginning of the flyer. It says, are you looking to overcome your fear of speaking English in public? Indeed, a lot of people have that fear.
Yeah.
So you need to overcome that fear. You need to conquer it. Of course, you're going to make mistakes, but it's a process. You're not going to overcome it overnight. It takes a while to get rid of your shyness or whatever of your fear and start speaking English more often. You don't have to speak to native speakers only. You can speak to people from other countries who also speak English as a second language. Maybe that will relieve the pressure a little bit, like talking to somebody from Argentina, for example, or from Russia.
Yeah, you find that a lot here. When I first came back a while ago, I took some classes at Shida, and we had a Vietnamese student, we had a Russian guy, we had someone from France, and for all of us in our class speaking Chinese together, we all felt like, well, we all have accents. We all forget things. We felt less embarrassed to make a mistake. I ran into a kid the other day. He wasn't a kid. He actually had a job. But he wanted to practice English like this, Tom. And he didn't care if it was a Taiwanese person who had good English or an American or British person. He just wanted to practice his English. So sometimes you have to just forget it yourself, don't be embarrassed, and just keep talking, because that's how you'll make the most improvements. Now, they've got different classes that you can attend out there, but this particular English Conversation Club are looking for intermediate learners who are committed to improving their English. So they're not beginners and they're not advanced, they're intermediate. So if you're talking about different levels, this is the one right in the middle. I would say I have intermediate Chinese. I'm not advanced. I'm not a beginner. But intermediate seems to have a lot of room to grow. So that's what they're looking for. But they want to have people who are really interested in getting better and not just goofing around. If you goof around, G-O-O-F, goofing around, you're just kind of wasting time and playing around. You're not concentrating or focusing on what you're supposed to do.
Right. Supposedly you've got all the fundamentals down, the basics like, present tense, past tense, future tense, prepositions, things like that. You pretty much understand all those things. Your pronunciation is pretty good. Now you can move on to actually acquiring more and more vocabulary and learning slang phrases and things like that. So that's what they are. They're an intermediate group of people trying to improve their English communication skills. Our chief aim, our main goal, is to learn colorful and relevant phrases so we can eventually converse just like native speakers. If they're colorful, they're expressive, and so of course when you speak another language, it's great if you can speak some of the interesting phrases that language has. For me, learning Chinese, of course, it's always fun to speak in Chengyu, the four character phrases. Those are always fun to understand and be able to use in a conversation. And of course, you want these phrases to be relevant, which means applicable or applicable. I guess you could say that word both ways.
You can.
It applies to the situation at hand. So sometimes if you say something that doesn't quite apply to the situation, people will look at you and think, that's not really the right thing to say in this situation. It's not dirty, but it's just not relevant to this situation. So indeed, you need to use suitable phrases, phrases that suit the situation. If you're discussing business, for example, or if you're discussing art or travel or things like that, you want to have phrases that apply to those kinds of situations. And the goal is to eventually converse just like native speakers. So here we've got the word converse, which is a verb. It just means to talk to each other, engage in conversation. We're going to go down to the coffee shop this afternoon and converse. Although that's more of a formal word. Usually we'll just say we're going to go to the coffee shop and chat.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever said that to anyone. I'm going to meet a friend and converse for a while. When I see converse, and that's the verb pronunciation, I think of the old shoe line. There was a shoe company. I don't know if they're still around. I never see these shoes anymore, called Converse.
Oh, they're around, you bet.
Yeah, they're basketball shoes, Converse. And it was spelled the same, but pronounced differently.
The students are going to get together and converse about Converse.
Yeah, see? It works like that.
Something like that.
So, yeah. But yeah, we're going to get together and chat, and the more that you can bring in new phrases and slang, I think the better your fellow club members will appreciate you, because that's always fun to learn. Now, a key principle for this club, one of the important things that they're trying to make as like sort of a principle that covers everything is that every session we have should be fascinating. That's a tall order. A tall order just means that's a big goal you have. That's not always going to be easy. To make every meeting they have fascinating, good luck with that. I think that would be good. Informative is easier, where you just inform people about things, or you share information that they may not have heard yet. And fun is actually easier still than fascinating. Fascinating seems to be kind of tough. But that's what their goals are. And they have some very high goals that they're shooting for, you could say.
Indeed. So, yeah, they want to be interesting for people, not just to sit there and talk about the weather or something. They're going to talk about all sorts of fascinating and interesting subjects. It's going to be informative. You're going to learn things. And our teacher and supervisor, Mrs. Wong, was born in the United States, and she is committed to helping everyone improve. If you're a supervisor, of course, you supervise people. And so this club isn't independent from the school. They do have a teacher who kind of keeps watch on these students to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, to make sure, they're actually successful and things like that. So she's the supervisor because she supervises this group and gives them advice, etc., etc.
Yeah, so those are their plans, at least, what they're trying to advertise or promote. Remember, we're trying to read a flyer here. So Mrs. Wong was born in the U.S. She's committed to helping everyone improve. Hopefully, she speaks some Chinese, too. I think it's always great if you have a teacher that knows both. And then you can ask more complicated questions, in-depth questions. I wanted to find a Chinese teacher in Taiwan that had very good English. So I could ask, how does this relate to another English expression? And she could answer. So here's a list of some benefits. A benefit is something that is good that you want to happen. Some experiences that you might also gain or come away with from being in the club. Virtual workshops with native speakers designed to improve your conversation abilities in various scenarios. So virtual workshops, meaning they're online, you're not meeting together, and you'll be talking to native speakers. And it would put you in various scenarios. I've heard people pronounce this scenario. But most people pronounce it scenario. A scenario is just sort of a situation that you're put in, You might have a conversation with somebody, and your scenario is you're at work, your boss is being really unreasonable, and you want to tell him that you need to have better treatment. Go, have that conversation. So they give you kind of a setup, or a situation, a scenario, where you have to come up with the conversation that you want to have.
Could be lots of different scenarios. It could be a fight or an argument. Yeah, you get out of my face. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Or it could be a romantic situation. Gee, there, honey, I've had my eye on you for a long time, etc., etc. You would have different kinds of phrases and vocabulary terms to use in different kinds of situations. Also, what you'll get is a copy of a learning portfolio that you can use when applying for university. Again, we did talk about the learning portfolio, and that is something the students can use to help them apply for a university, especially if it's an overseas university, but also a domestic university as well. They like to see that you've done something with English in the past because English is still rather important.
Yeah, progressive lessons, they're going to be offering that. So as the semester goes by, the lessons will be more and more detailed, more and more complex, perhaps. They're assuming that you're progressing as you go along, so your English improves. So progressive lessons that teach you specialized English terms and expressions through film dialogue and song lyrics. When I first got to Taiwan, a friend of mine asked me to sub at a school. And I was the English teacher, of course. And I taught them English through Toy Story. So I had clips from the movie. And also, this is how long ago it was, Bieber. what's his first name? Bieber.
Justin.
Yeah, Justin Bieber. Baby, 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 that song. And we just went over the lyrics and what they mean, and I showed the video. So just doing things that are more interactive. Visual is always fun. So hopefully, as you progress through the semester, you get better and better. And remember, they want their classes to be fascinating, informative, and fun.
My goodness, if I were a student and I was reading this, if I were reading this portfolio or this flyer, I would want to join this club as well, even though I already speak pretty good English. But this flyer goes on to say, our club will meet on the first and third Tuesdays of each month in the school auditorium. That's where they give speeches and things like that. Every school seems to have an auditorium. Sometimes the gymnasium doubles as the gymnasium and the auditorium. In my school, we had a separate auditorium, although a lot of meetings took place in the gymnasium, though, because more people could fit in there. And meetings will start at 3 p.m. and conclude at 4:45 p.m. So they'll have meetings for almost 2 hours twice a month.
That's a nice time and a good chunk of time. You could say a good block of time. Sounds like they have some great plans. The meetings start at 3. I wonder what time school gets over. When I was in high school, that's actually when the bell rang, 3 o'clock. So we'd get out of high school at 3 o'clock. And we then had clubs. I would usually either have drama club or I'd go with friends and we'd practice for orchestra. I played the violin then. So they're going to be meeting at 3. They're concluding at 4:45. And they'll probably go home at that point to eat because kids get hungry all the time. So if you require or if you need additional assistance or want to provide us with feedback, please follow our Instagram account and send us a direct message. Or as we refer to these nowadays, it's a DM, a direct message. When Tom and I were growing up, a DM was direct mail. And so it was a flyer or some sort of promotional material, an advertisement that came through your mailman who stuffed your mailbox with all of these DMs or direct mail. Nowadays, it's social media. So we use it to talk about messages that go specifically to one person or one group and not the whole world who can read it.
Yeah, well, back in the day, of course, we didn't have the internet and even mail sometimes was really slow. So sometimes we communicate to each other with CB radio. I don't know if you've ever done that before.
No,
I don't know if people do that anymore, but it was a way to communicate. But again, you can join this club by following their Instagram account and you can send them a DM or direct message. And to join the club, please send an email to Mrs. Wong at the following email address. And you're good to go. You probably will be screened a little bit. She'll probably ask you some questions before she allows you to join because there may be too many people for the club. They may have to be selective.
Or maybe your level is not quite high enough and she considers you to be more of a beginner. She would probably say, well, I don't think our club's quite the club you're looking for. So, yeah, I think it's good to have someone screen people. You don't want scary people to join either. You never know who's going to show up. These days, you got to be a little bit careful about safety. So this is what the flyer said. We're going to listen to our Chinese teacher, and when we come back, we're going to try to talk about some interesting English phrases that you may have learned from films or songs and have a discussion that way.
Hello everyone, 我是派老师。今天讲解的是3月3号 Unit2 Improve Your English Conversation Skills in a Fun Atmosphere。今天这一课是多益单元第2天课程。昨天对话中提到社团博览会是英会社招募会员的大好机会。我们看看他们设计的传单够不够吸引人，宣传效果如何。Without further ado， 我们一起来看看今天的学习内容重点。好，从第一段开始。Are you looking to overcome your fear of speaking English in public？ 好，所以他为了要让这些收到传单的人觉得是在对他们说话，第一句就用问句开头。你是不是想要克服在大家面前说英文的恐惧啊？好，我们请同学特别注意的是词语搭配，克服恐惧 overcome your fear。那接下来呢，第三句他就自我介绍 We are a group of intermediate learners。 所以呢，英会社的成员自己觉得他们算是中级的中阶的学习者。那他们有一项特色是什么呢？ We are committed to improving our English communication skills。 We're committed to， 好，当你 be 动词 committed to something， 那就表示呢你是非常投入的，你很认真的把后面这件事当作一回事。要请同学特别注意的是，后面的这个 to 是介系词，所以我们看到 improve 要加上 ing， 我们致力于，我们非常投入，很用心的要去改善我们英文的沟通技巧。那当然，这个英会社就像其他社团会有个目标嘛，他们的目标是什么呢？ Learn colorful and relevant phrases。 那他们希望能够多学一些跟生活啊、学习相关的 relevant 这样子的词语。然后呢，最终的目的当然是 we can eventually 最终 converse just like native speakers。 我们可以像以英文为母语的人一样很流利的对话。那再接着往下，请同学看到他们呢，就介绍自己这个英会社的课程。他希望说每一次社团如果呢定期聚会的时候呢，都很有趣 fascinating， 会让大家都觉得哇太棒了。此外，这个社团很强调他们的聚会是很知性的informative， 所以呢，在这里可以学到很多的资讯，获得很多的资讯 informative。 那接下来呢，他要介绍一下社团老师啦。那原来社团老师teacher and supervisor， 他其实呢也要负责去看看这个社团如何的进行。这位王老师他其实是美国出生的，他也非常的投入，很希望帮助大家改善自己的英语绘画能力。那老师目前在做什么呢？She's currently in the process of creating a detailed syllabus for the next semester。 昨天的课程就已经提到了，他们呢想要制定出课程大纲，当时用的动词是 craft， 同学还记得吗？那这里所用的呢是 create， 都是可以的。那要强调说老师正在做这件事情，所以 she is in the process of doing it， right？ 好，那接着往下，这个传单上面英会社的应该是干部吧，非常的用心，他们也列出了几点，希望高一的新生多考虑。那要怎么样多考虑能够加入英会社呢？他就要列出说加入英会社有哪些好处，总共列了3点。第一点呢是 virtual workshops， 这个工作坊里面到底要干嘛？原来他们会邀请以英文为母语的 native speakers， 那要干什么呢？帮他们呢改善，帮助会员提升自己的绘画能力。那提升的方式是什么呢？他们会设计很多的情境 scenarios。 再来第2点好处就是每个会员到了学期末都可以有一个很丰富的学习档案 a copy of a learning portfolio， 到时候呢申请大学就非常好用了。再来第3个好处就是这些课程是循序渐进的 progressive lessons， 它可以让参与的同学可以学到很多英文的名词，还有一些表达方法，而且学习的内容材料是以电影的对话，还有呢英文歌曲的歌词为主。好，那最后当然要告诉这些接收传单的人，让他们知道说如果你有兴趣要参加的话，要记得什么时候要来。所以他就讲Our club will meet on the first and third Tuesdays of each month。 所以1个月会有2次的订课。那哪2次呢？都是在礼拜2，那就是第1周还有第3周。那此外，他们社团聚会的地点在哪？ Auditorium， 在礼堂。好，那后面呢就是比较详细的时间了，从3点钟开始到4点45结束。请同学特别注意这个结束的动词是 conclude。 Meetings will conclude at 4:45。 好，以上就是我们针对这个社团招生传单所做的讲解，谢谢大家。
We're going to take a quick break. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Okay, it's time for discussion questions. And the first question is, can you list some interesting English phrases you have learned from songs or films? Of course, if you're studying English, it's good to know those phrases from songs or films. If you're studying another language like we are, we'll probably have interesting phrases from, say, French or Spanish or whatever. So tell me some interesting phrases that you know from movies or songs.
Well, I found this kind of cool website online, and this person, I think, is an English teacher, English as a second language teacher. But one of the top phrases was a very familiar phrase to a lot of us. It's from the Toy Story, and it's Buzz Lightyear who says, "To infinity and beyond," is what he says when he's off to a new adventure. And this is something you could say if you're starting a new job or you're starting a new direction in life. To infinity and beyond. Here's another one. You're toast. You're toast to us means you're dead, I'm going to kill you, or you're in big trouble. And this actually came from the movie Ghostbusters when they aimed their little Ghostbuster gun that was supposed to kill ghosts. Remember, they were trying to hunt ghosts and kill them. I'm not a big Lord of the Rings fan, but there are some phrases from that movie that have become famous, like, "You shall not pass." And we use it anytime you want to block somebody. Maybe they're trying to get past you in the hallway. You shall not pass. This comes from Gandalf the Grey, who blocks a path of a really scary demon. Do you remember this one? Let's see. "May the force be with you."
Yes,
this is quite old, right? This is just a way to wish somebody good luck. I still use it today. I have a little sticker in line with Yoda. His arms are crossed, and it just says, "May the force be with you." It just means we wish you all the good luck you can get.
Indeed. So those are some examples of phrases from English movies and from English songs and things like that. So hopefully all of you can use some phrases like that. We've got another question here if we've got time. What's one tip that students can use to improve their conversation skills?
I would say, because this applies to me, this is something I learned when I was kind of getting bored in my Chinese class. I decided I was going to quit my Chinese class and find somebody who could just teach me about something I loved, which is baseball. I wanted to understand more what the play-by-play was for the Yankees when I first came back to Taiwan. Wang Jinming was a pitcher, and so we had Yankee games on the TV all the time. So find something that you love and then ask, find somebody who can practice English with you and just say, let's talk about dancing. Let's talk about skateboarding. Let's talk about something that you love. You'll tend to remember those phrases and words more if you stick to something you really love.
Well, my advice is to do more listening and don't try to do all the talking, because sometimes you can challenge yourself by talking to someone else and hearing what they have to say. Eventually, they're going to say something you don't understand, and that will give you an opportunity to learn things.
What does that mean?
Yeah, don't dominate the conversation like a lot of people do, because they don't want to look stupid, so they just want to keep on talking and talking. But sometimes you do have to stop and listen to.
I don't know any Taiwanese folks like that.
Yeah, that is kind of rare to find. I see a lot of foreigners doing that in Chinese. But,
in Chinese.
Yeah, they won't stop talking. They won't let the other person
show off.
say. Yeah, but that's another subject, and that does bring us to the end of our discussion for today. And we wish you the best of luck in your English journey. And maybe you will consider joining an English club as well to improve your conversation skills. From all of us here at English Digest, I'm Tom.
I'm Stephanie.
Goodbye.
Bye.